There are other kids that are hungrier, that kind of have all their ducks in a row and stuff in one place. So in scrolling through this, if you see that you're missing key information, we're going to show you how to get that updated and make sure that you're not one of the ones left behind and you're one of those guys or gals that's getting the most looks. So Jaimie, Marvin, back in the room now. I know I gave you a little bit about them, but they're waiting for the people that still aren't here. So if you guys want to introduce yourselves, I gave them a little bit of background, but
yeah.
Let's share.
So my name is Marvin Sanchez, grew up in Chicago. Actually played ball at Roberto Clemente High School. So I'm sure some of you guys are hopefully familiar with the school. Got done playing, moved on, played at Northern Illinois University, played short second base. I got done with school, decided to go back and coach there for 2 years, working primarily with the infielders, outfielders, out camps and showcases, and really just helped out with the recruiting side of things at NIU. So that's a little bit about myself. I've been here at NCSA a little over 3.5 years now, working with a lot of student athletes and families, but definitely been in your guys' shoes as players. I've done it as a coach with going out and recruiting guys as well.
I'm Jaimie Duffek. I'm our director of softball here at NCSA. Like Marvin and Nelson, I'm also local. I grew up in Brookfield, so just outside the city, and went to Riverside Brookfield High School and grew up playing softball for the Lamont Rockers, and then went on to play softball at Drake University as an outfielder. So I actually was, like Marvin, in the recruiting coach role and worked directly with our softball student athletes on the enrolled side, and then last year I transitioned into the director of sport role. So I am coming up on 7.5 years with NCSA, so as old as I look, but I'm just kidding. But no, excited to be here.
And I know I gave you guys some of that information, but it sounds so much better when they say it and so much more impressive. And like I said, you guys are probably sick of hearing from me when I go out there and speak at the tryouts or the preseason meeting or the signing meeting, so it's nice to have some fresh voices, some fresh perspective, and some information here that I may have not passed along to you. So we're actually going to start out and look at one of the profiles, and right here we have Noelle, who's an athlete that Jaimie had worked with at some point that she knows pretty well. And are there some things in here, Jaimie, that you'd like to point out, or things that they should really be focused on over the controls to you?
Thanks. So depending on where you guys are at, whether you're just starting out or whether you already have some information on your profile, the reason I'm having Nelson kind of bring up Noelle is because not only is she an athlete that I worked with when I was a softball recruiting coach back in that role, but she's also an athlete that's been on the network for a little while now, and I think it's a great example of just things that you guys have the opportunity and we want you to work towards. I'm not saying that everyone's going to be here, today by any means, but just wanted to highlight a few things to work towards. So the view that you guys see right now on Noelle's profile is everything that a college coach is going to see. So we consider this your athletic resume, and a few things that I want to highlight right off the bat, and I'm sure Nelson has hit on with you before, is this is just a quick preview, but video is going to be super important. If you guys are noticing, Noelle has multiple videos up here, even as I extend it. This dates back to over a year ago. Bottom line, guys and girls, is that this is a process, right? It's not something that happens overnight. It's not going to be a situation where you're going to post one video and be done the recruiting process. My brother used NCSA for baseball, and through his recruiting process, there were multiple videos that we showcased and highlighted to really be able to track his progression. So some of you guys might be freshmen, some of you guys might be juniors, in different and at different areas in your recruiting process. But the bottom line is you do want to have multiple videos up here. I'm not saying, as a precautionary measure here, I'm not saying that you need to get video every single week. We typically, and Marvin can probably talk more on this too, but when I was working with our softball athletes, I said about every 6 to 8 months. Those are usually kind of big areas where you might, be stronger, faster. Maybe you changed a position. You're getting more playing time at third than you are at second. So there's different things to showcase, or maybe you've changed up your hitting style. Coaches want to see that. They want to be able to progress with you. So just as you see here, this is going to create a story. Coaches want to see that history backdating too. So if you have new video footage, it's still worthwhile to have video that you had once posted up there as well. You're going to want to update all of your academic info. So transcripts, multiple transcripts. Again, you're creating a backstory here, especially if you're increasing your GPA or you're taking some tough classes and maintaining a really great GPA. Or maybe you're a kid that started freshman year, struggled a little bit, and now, you know, the GPA is on the mend. We want to go ahead and have coaches be able to see that information. So transcripts are key, making sure that you take your SAT, ACTs, and post those scores up, because that's also going to be a huge portion of this process too. This is an area that'll be a work in progress as far as academic accomplishments and awards and activities. I know every high school is a little bit different, you know, on the award opportunities that you guys have. So this will be a work in progress. But I really want to highlight this athletic history page here. Coaches want to see what you're involved in, from whether it's the travel team, obviously you guys in the RBI program, you know, your high school team and what levels that you're playing at. This also tells that backstory. So don't feel like any small detail can't go a long way, okay? Even if it's you got the, I don't even know, I don't want to call it the cheerleader award, but help me out here. School Spirit, thank you. Even if you got the School Spirit as a freshman award, whatever it may be, you know, there's no small detail that can't, you know, go into this process that you're showcasing to coaches. I'd personally rather have more information than less information on this section. So that goes kind of for the athletic history along with the academic history. You guys can upload, you know, press links and things as well. And then key stats are really something that's important on the softball side. So if there is an opportunity where you can get your overhand velocity or, you know, your ball exit speed, connect with your coaches, or, you know, I know that there's some upcoming camps, you know, where we can possibly get some of that info. It'll be good to go ahead and have that up on the profile too, as you guys can see as I scroll through here. But that's really kind of a quick snapshot on the profile and obviously what college coaches see. Want me to cover anything else?
And I would just say one thing, whether it is video or the transcript or any of that, you know, it's not going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. And I think that
work in progress.
Yeah, a lot of times families and kids are like, well, you know, I don't like this video, or, you know, I'm going to get bigger faster, so they wait. If you have nothing, like, that's probably the worst thing that you could do. Yeah. And coaches understand that. Like, they understand that, you know, they're recruiting 19, 20, 21-year-olds, you know, guys and gals that are going to get bigger and stronger, and they know that you're going to go through that process and you're going to project a little bit differently. So don't make the mistake of waiting. If you have nothing, you know, get something up there and use it as a baseline, and then you can always change it, you know, really at any point in time. Yeah,
there's a really great question that came up too. Any suggestions for 8th grade kids that maybe are missing a GPA or test scores or athletic history? To Nelson's point, I think just post what you have. Obviously, in order for your profile to complete that GPA portion, you could just put in a 4.0 GPA. You know, coaches aren't really going to assess that until high school kicks off. So I don't really see that being, you know, a big situation or a predicament by any means. We have suggestions as far as when to take SAT, ACT. You can always put up your PSAT scores and things along those lines, you know, if you haven't hit that mark just yet. But again, I would just reiterate to what Nelson has, post what you have. Even if it's not a ton right now, this is your resume that you're going to build, you know, over the next 4, 5 years, whatever it may be.
Yeah, just to add to the videos, you're never going to have a perfect video. A lot of you guys are still growing, maturing, getting stronger. So like Jaimie said, every 6 to 8 months, you're going to develop a lot more. So within that time frame, you're working on certain things. Maybe it's arm strength, maybe it's your 60 time. Defensively, there's a lot of things you guys are always working on. Even the guys in the big leagues, those guys are working on things. Spring training, they're always looking for things to improve on. So don't worry about having perfect footage. Get something up that at least allows coaches to evaluate you and see your growth within the next year or two. So definitely get something up. Transcripts, you guys get off to a slow start, maybe freshman year, it's okay. coaches want to see progress. They want to see, hey, Noelle got off to a slow start. She got a 2.6 GPA, but she finished with a 3.5. So that shows maturity. It shows growth. So it's never going to be perfect.
Maybe, I'll go.
I was just going to say, do you want to pull up the big phone?
Yeah, we can do that and you know, being that Jaimie, where Jaimie ran down kind of where that stuff's located, maybe you can show them where to update some of that information.
One other thing that I do, or I should say two things that I think will be helpful, and maybe you can hit on this, Marvin, but Marvin brought up a really good point on maybe getting off to a slow start or maybe not being totally wanting to showcase maybe where your grades are at, or, you know, maybe you've changed up, you know, your swing. Bottom line is coaches are going to know one way or another in that perspective. So, you know, if you're not happy with your GPA right now, there's always a backstory to it, and there's always a way that you can communicate it, you know, with coaches. So I would reiterate the point where you don't want to not have it on your profile, because it's going to come up at some point. It's better to address it head on. It's better to have that conversation, you know, head on. It's just one thing that I would really kind of overemphasize there.
Yeah, you're not going to hide anything. Coaches, if they want information, they'll get it. They'll find it. Whether it's through your coaches, your summer coaches, your personal coaches that you work with, you know, so it's better to just get it out there and be honest with the coaches more than anything.
I wouldn't say that you can't get video either, because I see you all wearing out TikTok and Snapchat and everything else. So you got high definition cameras. So you guys know how to get video together. So yeah, why don't you show them exactly where that stuff's located within the profile? Yeah,
so as far as your transcript, so this is actually, so Danielle, she's a junior. She started early in the process. Bryce just started. I'm actually connected with him twice for a coaching session and an evaluation session. So typically, the coaching session, we'll talk about the profile, the membership, really making sure that you guys are maximizing the membership here at NCSA. And then I'll highlight some key steps, some action items, some things for you guys to work on, you know, whether it's in the fall, spring, summer. We'll have a game plan for each season. And then typically our next conversation is the evaluation session, where we'll talk about your video and we'll talk about areas of strengths and areas where I think you guys can continue to improve on. And then we'll go through a list of schools that you guys are, you know, potentially interested in based on your preferences. And those are things we'll touch on our first conversation, and then I'll highlight some things for you guys for fall, winter, spring, and then the last component is going to be an email template so that you guys feel comfortable sending your information out to coaches as well. But again, Bryce just got started. We've connected twice, so the profile's not as complete. I mean, he's done a great job since our first coaching session 2 weeks ago. He's completed a lot of the action items, but here's the transcripts. Once you guys have your profile, you can click on Edit Profile, Profile Summary. It's going to give you just kind of your next steps to complete the profile. But right here, you can see transcripts covers 15%. You can click on this green tab here. It says Add to Profile. And there's a blue tab here that says Add File, and then you can upload your transcripts. You'll just need your unofficial transcripts, and that'll cover 15%.
I think one of the biggest questions that I always used to get is, what's the easiest way to get the transcript? Two recommendations I would say is, a lot of high schools have your high school portal where it'll have the unofficial copy, so you can use that PDF or create a screen grab, whatever it may be. Or 99% of the time, you can go down to your guidance counselor and request an unofficial copy. It doesn't need to be official, to Marvin's point, and that'll do. Once you guys get through kind of some next steps in the recruiting process, obviously schools and coaches will need that official copy, but just for the sake of uploading and coaches be able to see some of that info initially, the unofficial will do.
Yep. So on this page, you can also add your test scores, you know, ACT, SAT with the MVP membership. You also have access to Method Test Prep. It's part of the membership. Method does a great job. Based on their data, most kids have scored at least 3 points higher on the AT, at least 150 points higher on the SAT. You'll have 4 practice exams. There's also a comprehensive test that you guys can take that breaks down each category. So yeah, once you guys have your test scores, you can update some of that information on here.
And for those kids, how do they connect the NCSA profile with Method? Is there a code that they get, or they send something?
Yep, you'll get an access code. So once you are assigned to a recruiting coach, they'll send you that information, and you guys can take full advantage of that. All right, and then the video. So we do have a video department here as well. They do a great job with highlighting, editing the video footage. You can also upload some footage here on your own. So you can just click upload new video. If you have video on YouTube, you can just add it directly from YouTube into your profile. And then that's where we'll connect again for an evaluation session and talk about your video.
I got a few things on the video side that I think could be some great recommendations, especially if you are one that finds it challenging to get video initially. Lessons are a great way, like hitting lessons. If you want to just go ahead and grab some footage, mom and dad, you can also just use your cell phone to get some footage that way. I know obviously we're getting into the winter months, so getting outside is not, probably a realistic opportunity for most of us. But that could be a really great way, and I would recommend just uploading that footage uncut to the YouTube section. My recommendation is using those 4 videos that can be edited through our video team, is just making sure that you have the right kind of footage to submit. If it's only 30 seconds of a hitting clip, that's probably not something that we want to use a verified video on and have editing to it. We probably want to wait till you guys have both your defensive and offensive footage, so that our video team can kind of go through and merge those files. I don't want to speak too much on the baseball side, but at least on the softball side, college coaches don't look for a ton of editing. They really look for more uncut type footage because they want to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. So a lot of what our video team will do on the editing side will be cutting down footage and making sure it's at the right time, the merging of both defensive and offensive footage, or putting your best footage first, those kind of things. I think sometimes, getting back to Nelson and Marvin's point that there's no such thing as perfect video footage. There's a lot that a college coach can see if you, pop up a ball, or you mishandle, a ground ball to your backhand. So it's important to note that you should have some of those things in there. Now, if you have like a full 30 seconds or minute of just a terrible go, I would probably not include that. Use your best judgment. But really, we want to try to get away from piecemealing things so that it's not really a highlight video. It's more of a true skills video. Again, I don't want to speak on the baseball side, but at least on the softball side. And
the really nice thing for all of you is that where most people don't have the chance to get the defensive footage and all of that during the winter, I know you guys are practicing at UIC and some other great places throughout the winter, so you definitely have the space. And I know the coaches in the past have been super accommodating when that time comes, and we're even talking about putting together a video day for you guys. So if you don't think it's important, hopefully the past 15 minutes of pretty much beating away at it, makes you realize just how valuable that video is in the big picture.
Do you want to touch on really quickly, I know we talked about updating video, how the reevaluation process goes, like especially if we're dealing with freshmen, anytime they upload video, kind of what that looks like?
Yeah, so once you add your video footage, again, coaches understand that you guys are still young, growing and developing. Us as coaches understand that too. So your match percentages with certain schools that you feel might be a good fit for you, those match percentages will go up because we do expect you guys to continue to grow and develop. So we'll reevaluate your video footage. We'll connect again for a phone call, and we'll talk about some of those things. Hey, Johnny, you've improved here. These are some things I think you should continue to work on. If the goal is to play at a D1 school, hey, we got to get our 60 time down to 6.8, 6.9. Arm strength 87, 89 for pitchers. So, yeah, typically during our coaching sessions, our evaluation sessions, we'll talk about some of the key stats, metrics, and things that you guys can continue to work on.
And speaking of that match percentage, maybe we can show 1, setting preferences, and then 2, how, like, a match percentage example.
Yeah, you can go to Noelle's. She's got video if you want.
You're probably going to have to go back out and back in because he's probably in.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
you could search for whoever, or you can take it.
Thanks. Yep.
while she's pulling that up, again, if you do have any questions, feel free to chime in or, use that chat feature over there.
So kind of just getting to Marvin's point, what I'll do is I'll show you guys how to update preferences first. And I'll pull it up here, and maybe Marvin can kind of touch on whether or not you touch on this in your first phone call when you're getting to know athletes. But for those that maybe are not super familiar with the preferences page, this is an area where you have the opportunity to tell us as NCSA and recruiting coaches kind of what you're looking for in a college, whether it's geographic preference, whether it's school size, whether it's the type of, athletic program you're looking for, and things of that nature. This preferences page does allow you to go ahead and manipulate it. One thing that I do want to highlight on this page, though, is if you fill out this page as a freshman, your chances of what you may want in a college by junior year could drastically change. I thought I was going to South Florida and then ended up in good old Des Moines, Iowa. So 2 totally different areas there. I realized I wanted to stay a little bit closer to home. So as parents, if you guys are on this webinar, really kind of check in with your athletes and have these conversations. That way, when you do get to the point, whether you're talking with a recruiting coach or, you're starting to get activity on your profile, you at least are getting some of those conversations out of the way initially and using it as a foundation, and then you can build upon it moving forward. You can choose majors, that you're interested in. I mean, there's so much information, it can be overwhelming on this, kind of page. So I would say is a good recommendation to start out with, at least maybe start with the geographic side of things. I wouldn't touch the athletic selectivity too much unless you absolutely know one way or another, you're not interested. I think some of those can kind of come into play when the evaluation's done and you have an idea of maybe what areas could be a great fit for you, both academically and athletically. Would just be my recommendation on that. But do you want to talk maybe or hit on anything that you cover in like a first initial coaching session or getting to know athletes?
Yeah, so early on we'll talk about your preferences. Where do you want to go to school? Do you want to stay close to home? Are you open with going away from home? Big school, small school, Division I, Division II, Division III. Some of you guys already have an idea of what your goals are and where you want to play. Some of you guys are not sure, and that's okay. I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do junior, senior year. So we'll talk through some of that stuff. We'll talk about the differences with D1s, D2s, D3s, the scholarships. For example, your D1s get 11.7 scholarships that they can give out. Your Division II programs get 9. Your Division III programs do not give out athletic scholarships, but the upside is that they do give out a lot more grants academically and scholarships, not too many people know about. And you have NAI junior college, so we'll talk about the differences athletically, academically, just to get an idea so that we're on the same page throughout the process. And again, we'll have multiple coaching sessions, evaluation sessions in case things change in 2 years, just to make sure we're matching you up with the right schools and getting your information out to the right schools.
And one other thing to just pile on top of this is with the preferences, as with a lot of these other things, through Team Edition, through the coaches portal, the entire staff will be able, or whoever has access to it will be able to see what the preferences are. So when you guys are out playing next summer or there's a phone call over the winter, the more that they can reference that and see what you're looking for, the more accurate they're going to be when talking to schools and know exactly what you want. So.
Yeah. So I know Nelson wanted to highlight a few things on this page. So the difference between the athlete that Marvin had Bryce pulled up and Noelle is that Noelle's been on the network for a little while. She's gone through multiple, evaluations and reevaluations. So her profile is in a really great position as far as the activity. This is on the high end as far as, everything that she's done so far. The fact that she's sent out 622 emails plus. Those are just the emails, that have been opened in particular. You can see all the profile views. But one thing that I think is worthwhile highlighting to you guys, and I'll have to...
They'll be proud of UAB.
I know. My buddy Jaimie.
My emails.
I just want to make sure I wasn't missing anything on that column. So the area that I want to kind of just showcase to you guys really quickly here is this match level percentage. So when you have transcripts and video footage posted on your profile, you will go through the evaluation process like I mentioned, and we take into consideration a boatload of things: academics, athletics, you know, what you're looking for in a college program, and then obviously what college coaches are looking for in an athlete or what they're looking for in positions, grad years. Based on those 4 areas, you as an athlete will receive a match level percentage with every school across the country. So to reiterate the importance of completing the, you know, preferences page and updating that, that does have some factor into the match level percentage. So really think close, you know, take a long, hard look at it. You know, I'm not saying it needs to be perfect, you know, as a freshman, sophomore. Again, use it as kind of that starting point and build upon. But you'll be able to see kind of where, you know, you're ranking up at that point in time. I worked with Noelle very closely through her experience before I transitioned out of my position. She did not always start out as a top tier, you know, Division I prospect. She increased her velocity. She, you know, continued to go to the right showcases and tournaments and those opportunities. So there are really great ways for you to increase opportunities. And then we've also seen where athletes maybe aren't doing what they're supposed to do, and maybe they aren't progressing like we would hope. So it can go, you know, both ways. I think it's important to note that. But really kind of, you know, reiterating the importance of updating video, measurables, you know, academic info, all of that does factor in here as well.
And I'll answer these couple questions that have come in. You know, someone was asking about the membership and is there a fee for that, and kind of the same thing, how do you sign up for a recruiting coach? At the initial team meeting earlier this fall, it was like a month ago, we talked about how to access that. So everyone, if they haven't done so at this point, should go to, and if you want to pull up a new tab, should go to allinaward.com and complete this application. At the meeting, we had some paper copies that I brought back here to the office. I think out of the 35, 40 families, we maybe had 10 or 12 that submitted that day. So if you haven't done it yet, you know, please do that and take it seriously. You know, that's one thing that I'll definitely say is some of the ones that I brought back in a hurry, and I understand that it was a game day for the Cubs and we were kind of rushed getting out of there.
Priorities, right?
Yeah, but this is something that, you know, the average person would pay upwards of $3,000 for. And through our different partnerships and relationships, we're able to offer this to you. It's something that's important to the Cubs and to the RBI program. And there's a few qualifications for that you can see here. You know, the first thing, it demonstrated financial need. And again, that doesn't apply to everyone in this group. And that's why we've actually taken it the extra step, is that we know the criteria for being a part of Cubs RBI is not only what you do on the field, but also off. And you've demonstrated leadership skills, and, you know, you're involved in the community, and part of Cubs RBI is actually giving back. So if you don't qualify financially for the All-In Award, we have what's called an I Will Award. And, you know, just go ahead and notate that when you're filling out this application, and we'll make sure that a member of our team, you know, most likely myself or Katie Massey, who works really closely with this, will be reaching out to you and make sure that you have that recruiting coach, that you're handed off to Marvin or a member of the baseball team, or, you know, a member of the football team like Jaimie was once part of. So I can't stress enough, please go to All-In Award and get that done as completely as possible, you know, as soon as you can, so we can get you up and running.
I just put it in the chat box for you guys too.
Yeah, so you should all get that.
Sorry, hold please.
There you go.
There you go. You guys should all have it now too.
Yeah, and if you have any more questions about that, the email reminder that I sent out, you know, feel free to reply to that, and you know, we'll make sure that you get off on the right foot here.
I think one other thing that I'll just say is I've worked with a lot of student athletes through my 7.5 years with NCSA. And I've been on the family side where my brother was a member of NCSA and then came on to work for NCSA before becoming a police officer. And you guys have a really great opportunity in front of you. You know, I'm sure Marvin can probably attest to this. You know, NCSA wasn't what it was years ago as to what it is now. Just from a technology standpoint, resource standpoint, you know, take Nelson's recommendation and take it seriously. Some of the best stories and experiences that I've had and had the opportunity to work with were athletes that maybe, you know, couldn't play on a top travel team or didn't have the resources, you know, that were readily available to their teammate or friend next to them. So just know, you know, that you guys have a really unique experience. Be grateful, you know, and be excited that we want to work with you. And let us know, you know, that how we can help you if you guys have those questions.
Yeah, the other thing I would add is, you know, taking advantage of all the resources. I think we all have different stories, right, as athletes, and we're all in different situations. I've had kids who are, the kids throwing 90, 92 off the mound. I've worked with kids who make the high school team, and they found the place to play. I think the key thing is taking advantage of the resources, the coaches who have gone through the process, who have been in your shoes, and we're here to help. You know, we've been in your shoes as players, as coaches, and anything we can do to help you take advantage of it.
I don't know how many people on this call right now were at the signing day meeting last spring, but Carrie and Chris and I joke around. That's when I kind of laid down the hammer on you guys. You know, came out firing, but remember that your output is going to equal your input. So if you don't do anything, nothing's going to happen, right? And I used that acronym back in the spring. I said your opportunity is going to equal your network, you know, how broad that is, how many coaches that you reach out to multiplied by your effort. Okay, so you could have a really small network and you could reach out to a few coaches, but be very strategic and consistent about it, you know, or you can cast a wider net and see what's out there. And oftentimes that changes as you know, from when you start to when you finish. You might start out more broad and kind of narrow down. But if you want this to work, if you really want to play at the next level, it's not just going to happen by, you know, doing it once. It's a process. It's ever evolving. It's ever improving. But you have to realize just as you need to continue to get bigger and faster and stronger, you need to work on your skills. You also need to continue to work at this. And I can assure you that if you do that, you know, there's going to be a school out there. There's going to be multiple schools out there that are going to fit what you're looking for, and you're going to fill a need that they have. So, are there any other questions? You know, like I said, your audio should be able to be turned on as well, I think, or you could type in the chat box.
Any questions on camps, showcases, video?
Anything, you name it.
Chris, or any other coaches that are on the line, anything additional that you'd like us to cover? You can text me like you were earlier. Okay, question came in, yeah. How long after we form? If you filled out that all-in-award application, you should hear something back within 48 hours. You know, so if you did do that and you don't hear back, please let me know. You know, reach out to me directly, and we'll make sure that gets taken care of. There's a question about camps, right?
I think so. How do you determine which camps or showcases are good for our athletes?
Great question. So camps and showcases, I'll be very honest with you guys. It's an opportunity for coaches to fundraise for their programs, but I do think there's a lot of value in the camps. But it all depends on your preferences and where you want to go to school. So I would say early on, if you're a freshman, sophomore, probably stay close to home. It's a chance for you guys to kind of get your feet wet, get some experience, get your name out there to some coaches, but still get evaluated so you can get some of those key stats and numbers updated, like your 60 time, own the first, exit velocity, and things like that. And then junior year, once you have a better idea of where you're going to go to school, then you can start looking at some different camps and showcases that may be a better fit for you. So showcases are different. They're ran by separate organizations and businesses like Perfect Game's a big one. PBR, Prep Baseball Report. You got Crossroads. Your high academic ones are like Show Ball, Head First. Trowski's a big one in California. Northwest is another one in California as well. But I would say for you guys, if you're looking for a showcase event, look at the schools that might be in attendance before mom and dad spend the money for that showcase. So.
Yeah, I think to also add to that, if you're kind of on the younger spectrum, I think a good opportunity could be to look at camps that have multiple coaches in attendance as well, where you can get, multiple perspectives and, kind of feedback and different styles of coaching and fundamentals and things like that. But I would also kind of, bring it full circle on having a completed NCSA profile where you can get that evaluation or that reevaluation down the road and kind of really get an idea of where you might match up initially, and then kind of put, an action plan around that. Or, when you're to the point junior, senior year where you're getting heavy communication with coaches that maybe saw you at a camp or saw you at a tournament or a showcase and now want to get you on campus, at camps to work with you a little bit more specifically, that also happens as well too. So it's a process, it's different for everyone. I remember as a freshman going to, the UW Madison camp, which I probably had no reason to go to. Learned a lot, but from, an exposure recruiting standpoint, didn't make a ton of sense looking back on it. But those are things you don't know initially. I didn't really have someone to kind of steer me in that direction or, give me at least a little bit of a baseline to work off of. So, like I said, bringing it full circle, that's really kind of where having that video transcript and having those conversations can kind of come into play.
And if you get invited to the University of Wisconsin-Madison baseball camp, don't go because they don't have a baseball team. There's only one Division I baseball team in Wisconsin, and that's Wisconsin-Milwaukee.
Yeah.
One thing, Marvin, you talked about before, the 11.7 Division I scholarships and 9 Division II, the merit-based data at Division III. Jaimie, do you want to give those numbers for the softball side?
Yeah, I have to look them up right now. I don't remember off the top. So removed.
While Jaimie's looking that up, just kind of want to touch on grades, the importance of academics. So the better your grades, the better your GPA and test scores, the more leverage you can create for yourself, the more opportunities you can create for yourself. But for your D1s and D2s, the more flexibility you give coaches, because coaches can stack scholarships. So for example, if Nelson qualifies for 50% academically, and he's a kid I'm very interested in, I could say, hey, we're limited with our budget, but we can offer you 25% athletically, 50, 25, now it's 75%. This tuition being paid for, so mom and dad's probably happy. So again, you give coaches flexibility. So those of you who are freshmen, get off to a good start. Those of you who are juniors, seniors, finish strong.
So on the softball side, I had to do a little bit of a refresher. I've been out of the game for a little while.
Actually shocked.
Plus, Drake is also not fully funded, so that's a whole other story. But D1s can offer up to 12 scholarships. Again, not every single program, even at the Division I level, is fully funded, like my alma mater. To Marvin's point and Nelson's point, we're able on the softball side to also stack scholarships for academics and athletics. So as an outfielder, by my sophomore year, give or take, I was roughly paying about $2,000 at a private institution out of pocket, but that's because my academics were where they needed to be. I was on the highest presidential scholarship and then was able to make up the difference on the athletic side. So just know, especially for softball where they're typically smaller rosters, that, a lot of coaches are going to try to divvy up as much as they can to go around. So academics play a really huge part in this process from a financial perspective. D2s are 7.2, nothing's changed there. NAIs are 10, and then really great thing about junior colleges is that they have the ability to offer up to 24 scholarships. The only caveat with that would be is that there are different levels of the junior college, just like there are through the NCAA D1, D2, D3. The D3 level of the junior colleges don't offer athletic scholarships. And again, while programs can have up to, that doesn't mean every school has that amount in particular. So just something to be aware of. It's also something that coaches don't always frequently talk about. I don't typically hear a lot of coaches going around saying, hey, you know, I only have 7 full scholarships. They'll kind of give you, you know, when you guys get to that point, what the breakdown is academically and athletically. Bottom line is it doesn't matter where the money's coming from, as long as you're getting financial assistance, whether it's grants, academic money. You know, I know my parents didn't care about that because it was less out of their pocket. So just something to be aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. You also have other resources like FAFSA that can potentially cover a good portion of your tuition, and that's typically based on, you know, mom and dad's income, but that can cover another good, you know, again, like Nelson, maybe he gets 50 academically, 25 athletically, maybe FAFSA covers another 15, 20%. So again, those are things that you'll walk through and talk to with your recruiting coach. And again, grades are definitely very important.
Last thing we'll just talk about here is kind of the cadence. You know, if you do go through and you have that membership, you've done the all-in award application. One of the questions was, you know, how frequent do you speak with someone? And that really kind of escalates as you get deeper into the process. You're going to be, in many cases, automatically prompted to do certain things, like getting your video up, to get reevaluated, to upload your transcript. So you'll get that information, but as that communication picks up with college coaches and more look at your profile and also the more work that you put into it, you know, that's where our recruiting coaches become more involved in the process. It's really hard for them with the number of athletes that they work with and the number of schools that they talk to, you know, dedicate a ton of time consistently to everyone. But it's also amazing to see for those kids that really are invested into the process, how you almost become an extension of their families, right? Like all the time we're sitting around and talking about this athlete or that athlete and just what an amazing job that they did. So know that there isn't like a standard, like you need to do this. Yes, they have guidelines, but like I said before, the more that you put in, the more you're going to get out of it. And the same goes for your relationship with them. And then also the amount of communication that you'll end up having. So be aware of that. So I don't think there's really any more questions coming in, and our goal is to kind of keep this, you know, within 45, 50 minutes, and we're hitting that point right now. Beautiful thing is, you know, I'm going to have the chance to go out there and see you guys down at UIC throughout the winter. We're going to do another one of these webinars at some point where it'll give you some time to think of more questions, and hopefully more of you are onboarded by that point and things come up and we see some activity. So last chance, any last minute questions here? I'm checking my phone for them as well. All right, well, I appreciate you guys spending the time today. This was recorded, and we'll send it out to you. Any closing words from either of you two?
No, get your applications in. I think I could probably speak for everyone on the softball side is we'd be really excited to work with you guys. So let us know if you have any questions as you guys are filling out the application too.
Yeah, anything we can do to help. I actually have a few kids from the RBI program with the Texas Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
I was a part of the Cubs RBI program my freshman, sophomore year.
You didn't lead with that?
I know, I forgot. But yeah, anything you guys need, any questions, let us know, let me know, and happy to help.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Go Cubs, go. Adios.
Bye, guys. Hang on.